Several pro-Palestinian marches are happening around the country. They are in response to the violence in Gaza, which saw Israeli troops killing at least 55 Palestinians. This is the bloodiest single-day massacre of Palestinians since 2014. eNCA's Khayelihle Khumalo is at the US Consulate in Sandton, where a group of people have gathered. Kaya, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. So tell us about the mood and the tone of some of the people that have come out there to be part of that march.
Well, absolutely, Tila Caesar, as the capitals of the world are actually marking this day, and of course others are calling it a day of Nakba or a day of catastrophe. So hundreds of activists are here. Of course, now the memorandum of their demands has been handed over to the US Consulate. But maybe to get a sense, Tila Caesar, the mood here, of course, is absolutely electrifying, as of course a lot of people are talking about the independence of Palestine. They're talking about the sovereignty of Palestine. They're saying it's high time that the US stops maiming and of course contributing to the destabilization of the Middle East, the region itself. But just to get a context in terms of the litany of demands that have been brought in here to La Caesar, we have Ziad Patel from the Palestine Solidarity. Sir, just tell us about why you're here today.
We're here today in solidarity with the Palestinian people. We know that Palestinians are commemorating the 70th Nakba. Palestinians have been disenfranchised, have been alienated, their rights have been alienated, and Palestinians have embarked since the 30th of March on what we call the Great Return March. The Great Return March is about Palestinians in the Gaza Strip wanting to return to their homes, lands and villages. Let's remind your viewers that those Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are being maimed and killed on those open plateaus. But that is actually the buffer zone. And just past the buffer zone is the barrier wall or the barrier fence. And just over the barrier wall were actually some of the Palestinians, their forefathers and their grandfathers, their homes, lands and villages, which is not very far away from where they're actually protesting and advocating for their freedoms. Again, we've seen Israel's belligerent attitude, and we're not surprised by Israel's belligerent attitude. They've been perpetrating war crimes, crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing in 1948 when Palestinians were ethnically cleansed from their homes and from their lands, and it continues to be and it continues to do so. They continue to do so in total violation and in disregard of international human rights, in total disregard of international conventions, international law, international humanitarian law, and so forth. Also, we want to state that the Nakba is being commemorated not only in South Africa, but it is a global campaign in all parts of the world. And today, on this very strategic day, South Africans, together with activists from all over the world, are also commemorating the Nakba, but are also coming out in their numbers to come out to US embassies and US consulates, because President Trump of the US has exercised certain unilateral decisions which is completely illegal in international law. President Trump says that he's exercising his own sovereignty rights. How does he exercise his own sovereignty rights? By so-calling exercising what they call the Jerusalem Embassy Act that was passed in the United States US congressional resolution and in US congressional resolutions. How can you impose the sovereignty rights of the US on an extraterritorial jurisdiction such as Jerusalem, which is subject to the will and aspirations of the Palestinian people and the international community? So today we repudiate, revoke and reject and rebuke Ambassador Haley for the decision that she has undertaken in support of this decision. Nobody, no unconscionable human being is going to accept that Jerusalem will be handed over to the apartheid Israeli Zionists. We will not accept the decision. We consider the decision to be void and non-effective. That was one of the reasons why we had prepared a memorandum on behalf of the Palestine Solidarity Alliance and to get other solidarity partners, which was read out at this afternoon's gathering. Due to time constraints, unfortunately, I was not able to read out the full memorandum. However, a full memorandum was delivered to the United States under agreement that was made between the Palestine Solidarity Alliance and the South African police services. I want to state for the record that a representative from the United States Consulate had stated at a Joint Operations Committee meeting that the US Consulate would accept the memorandum. However, myself and a solidarity partner from NOMSA was then taken to the US Consulate, where we went to deliver the memorandum. However, the particular person, representative of the US Consulate, accepted the memorandum, however refused to sign the memorandum. We also want to state that we had to go through a security screening, which felt like Palestinians that have to go through checkpoints, where we had to remove all our clothing apparel that seemed to be creating some type of security risk before we were permitted into the US Consulate. Nevertheless, we will continue the struggle and advocate for a free Palestine. Also, I want to make reference to the recent decision by the South African government with regard to the recalling of its ambassador from Tel Aviv. Whilst the Palestine Solidarity Alliance welcomes the decision, we say that it's a decision that has been taken far too late. It's also a shame that this decision is taken after we have about 60 Palestinians killed and over 2,000 injured, despite the South African government and the political party being involved in politics for a long time and should have exercised these avenues much sooner. We demand a complete cessation of diplomatic and trade relations with apartheid Israel, and that continues to be our demand.
And I suppose, just briefly, sir, what do you think this will change? I mean, Washington, D.C. has made its decision. The new embassy has been opened, but by virtue of coming here, what sort of change are you hoping to see out of this?
Well, we're hoping on a number of fronts. The first front is building the solidarity campaign with Palestinians. And because of commemorating Al-Nakba Day, we are increasing the alliance partners in this country. Let's also be reminded of the fact that there has been pro-Palestinian marches and protests that have happened in major South African cities like Cape Town today. So one part of it is education. Another part is, preparing a specific and a specific memorandum with stipulation of United Nations resolutions and international law to act as a campaign and act as an educational tool for people that are more interested about the Palestinian struggle, to read the memorandum, to engage with the memorandum, and basically then to advocate what the memorandum stands for. We also have to stop this culture of impunity. The world is being overtaken by this culture of impunity in Africa, the Middle East, and impunity is also being perpetrated by the United States in the egregious wars that it commits. I just want to bring to the attention to your viewers the recent retraction by the United States from the nuclear non-proliferation agreement with the Islamic Republic of Iran. What consequences and ramifications will that have for humans, for human suffering and catastrophe that will unfold by any military campaign that may be undertaken?
All right, sir. So thank you so much indeed to you, sir. So absolutely, Tula Caesar, it is a perennial challenge. And I mean, Mr. Patel has just given us a very comprehensive responses in terms of their expectations, stating categorically that the U.S. must reconsider its decision to have the embassy in Jerusalem. And also they're saying they will not surrender to Jerusalem. It remains a very disputed capital. And of course, when you look at the conflicts, it's one of the most intractable ones. Back to you, Tula Caesar.
Yeah, that's eNCA's Khayelihle Khumalo outside the US Consulate where that picket is taking place.